Κυρίες και κύριοι, ξεκινάει το δεύτερο σεμινάριο με καθηγητή τον κριτή των Ολυμπιακών Αγώνων, κύριο Neven Baran, ο οποίος ήταν κριτής σε 2 Ολυμπιακούς Αγώνες για την ενημέρωση των κριτών, προπονητών και αθλητών. Το πρώτο σεμινάριο, που έγινε μία εβδομάδα πριν, παρακολούθησαν live μέσω του Facebook 1.600 άτομα και 850 μέσω του YouTube. Να ξεκινήσει, καλή σας ημέρα!
Καλημέρα σε όλους σας. Η Ομοσπονδία στην προσπάθειά της να καλύψει με τον καλύτερο δυνατό τρόπο την αναγκαστική αγωνιστική μας απραξία και όχι μόνο την αγωνιστική αλλά και την αποχή από τις προπονήσεις, υιοθέτησε μία πρόταση της οικογένειας Παπαθανασίου για να αποδίδουμε και τα του Κέσαρου στο Κέσαρι, πρόταση που η όλη σύλληψη ανήκει στον Εμίλιο Παπαθανασίου και η υλοποίησή της στο Λάκη Παπαθανασίου και την πραγματοποίηση αυτών των σεμιναρίων. Στόχος των σεμιναρίων αυτών που την πραγματοποίησή τους μας την έδωσε η δυνατότητα που αποκτήσαμε από τις πολύ επιτυχημένες, δεν κουράζομαι να το λέω αυτό, διοργανώσεις, μεγάλες διοργανώσεις που έγιναν στο αθλητικό μας κέντρο, η απόκτηση δηλαδή ενός τέλειου εξοπλισμού, τεχνολογικού εξοπλισμού. Ποιος είναι ο στόχος αυτού του εγχειρήματος? Ο στόχος είναι η θωράκισή σας με την απόκτηση όσο το δυνατόν περισσότερων γνώσεων των κανονισμών για την αντιμετώπιση των ενστάσεων. Ενστάσεις θα υπάρχουν πάντα, υπήρχαν, υπάρχουν και θα υπάρχουν πάντοτε. Και όλοι μας γνωρίζουμε ότι πολλά αποτελέσματα κρίνονται από ενστάσεις και κυρίως από λάθη τα οποία κάνουμε κατά την υποβολή των ενστάσεων ή την αντιμετώπιση των ενστάσεων. Θέλω να πιστεύω και ευελπιστώ ότι τα σεμινάρια αυτά στα οποία διδάσκει ένας καταξιωμένος διεθνής κριτής θα αποβούν ωφέλιμα για όλους μας, για όλους σας και για τώρα και για το μέλλον. Σας ευχαριστώ.
Thank you, Mr. Dimitrakopoulos. Neven, the field is yours.
Thank you, Kostas. Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Neven Baran. Thank you very much for having me for this rules talks. I'm very privileged to be a part of that, and I congratulate you for coming this morning for this session. Last time it was sailors, but this time was much more prominent people from the sailing, which are coaches and judges. We will work in a way that I prefer to have your questions, because if you give questions, you keep me alive, sort of. The main goal, perhaps, of the seminar would be that if you have any doubts and I can help in clearing it up, I'll be very happy. Well, this remote is a bit poses a challenge because there is no a real personal interaction. But last time it worked quite well, I would say, and then let's try another go and see if we can interact a lot so that we can exchange some views on rules. And of course, I'm one that learned the most. I'm sorry. How you can get your answer is that you can pose a question into the chat, and then at some time I would review it, and then we will come back to those questions and publicly answer. And that, I hope it will work well. Of course, don't hesitate, because we have tomorrow as well a session. So during the time of your rest after this session today, you please can come up with more questions and prepare them and send to Kostas, and I will prepare myself for them. Well, you have the list of topics we're going to address. That's not necessarily what we should pass all. because if you have something that is on this list missing and that it's point of your interest, I'll be happy we go with it as well. Myself, I was a coach as well, so I sort of kind of have a look from that side, and there will be some special attention to some rules that would relate to coaches, and you'll be happy to participate with your views and experience as well, because we nowadays have some more stuff that actually affect coaches in particular. Well, coaches are the propagators and the backbone of all our sports, so they need a respect from all our community, and I thank you for your work, actually. And it's very important because you are passing on the new skills, and you are actually the keeper of the best knowledge over the time, and you can be very good source of information, so I thank you for that aspect especially. Today we're going to talk about definitions, that talk about general rules, just as it is listed. And tomorrow we will focus more on procedures and so on. Also, you got some a paper with the sort of warm-up questions. I don't feel obliged to answer them and present them to me, or that's not the goal. It is just to prepare your mind through it so that you just jump back and forth on those that might be of interest, and test how much you actually are on top of these issues. Not the answers to those questions would be straightforward, some of them, especially diagrams, because they might need some more discussion of conditions and reasons why how boats are positioned. We can discuss them through the seminar anyway. At the end, I will give the answers to them as well. But if you in particular want some answers that are not clear, some of them are straightforward, but then ask again, please. Well, to introduce things to rules, maybe it's worthwhile to say some things. One more thing, sorry, I really thank Kostas especially for arranging this, and Kostas will be helping me through this vast possibilities of technology, that I can present what I can, and Kostas will keep us in a time frame so that we have breaks in time. So thank you, Kostas, for following us all the time. To introduce,
thank you, Neven.
How we, yes, it was very good last time. Thank you, Kostas. I really you kept me out of trouble, and I hope you'll be my angel savior this time as well. Well, to start talk about rules, maybe we should just generally say a few words about something that is actually not a rule. Because if we go through the rule book, then we think everything applies, but then suddenly if we come across a definition rule, for example, then we can't find in it something that is, I'll share with you now just the body rule books just in a second. Kostas, we have the rule book now, right?
Yes, Neven, we have it.
Perfect, thank you. So what I wanted to say is something about this, basic principles, sportsmanship and the rules, and the environmental responsibility. But if you look carefully into the definition rule, you will not find that thing in at all, because it says under A, rules in this book, including definitions, race signals, introduction, preambles, and rules of relevant appendices, but no titles. So actually, if you pass through this definition of the rule, we are governed by something that is absolutely not a rule. And that is fascinating in a way. So it means that all our sailing community accepts certain principles that are base for all rules and our behavior later on. So there is this is not a rule. Basic principle is not a rule, but actually it has a direct link to something else, which is rule 2 and other procedures that are more of behavioral matter. So how it was before when we had no rules or no judges. So I think those basic principles were applicable because sailors were outside, they were sailing. And if somebody was not sailing that day, if they had any dispute, they would come ashore and then they will ask other sailors what they think. And upon those, under those opinions, they would become out a decision and someone would retire because they all understood that the rule was broken. So that was the principle. I don't think anything particularly fundamentally changed since then. We still come back to those basic principles and we go to fundamental rules and we say we will apply the fundamental rules if we do not have any other rule that we can apply, like Rule 2 would say here, right? So I think you are all quite familiar with that, but I just thought it would be nice to have an introduction about this significant principle. And we have a privilege to enjoy open space, and particularly now we feel it because we are all in this disaster of pandemic. And we like it, and sea and weather and in all its splendor, peril and challenges we enjoy, and because it is freedom. And well, so that's the beauty of our sport, and we sometimes take it as granted, but perhaps we are more, especially coaches, I think they are very well aware of it. So why I'm saying that? Because that remoteness, like now we are remote as well, right? But that remoteness actually gives us extra responsibility on the rule application. So once we know we break a rule, we have a mechanism inside our own system that would tell us, do your penalty or retire. It's that self element always present, because we would never be able to reconstruct an incident like you have a car accident and then you freeze everything and police comes and then measures and say you and apportions the guilt and something. So that element of this, that nature of our sport would always contain this self-policing element, and we will never survive without it completely. Although we have nowadays, we have sort of relying a lot on judges, on our system, especially in fleet umpiring or match racing. But there is still, we will never completely eradicate, in my mind, this principle of self-policing and responsibility for the sport itself. And that's you as a coaches are building into your kids as well, those principles. And again, thank you very much for that one. Fundamental rules, if we follow from those, they are becoming a rule. And then actually the principles in fundamental rules, like helping in danger or fair sailing, and etc., are contained in this part 1. And I would not anymore talk more than it is necessary, because I think you are all aware of it quite well. I mean, why we have this helping those in danger, for example, because maybe because we would need sometimes help as well. So we would gladly give a help. And we are awarded for the help as well, because that's also the obligation. Irrespective of all the rules and all your selfish interest to win, you still would need to help anybody on the water if needs a help. And then you will be even entitled to redress, as you may know well. So that's all about the principles I wanted to say. Except one more thing, it is that by actually entering the race, we all accept that we are bound by the rules and that we would not seek any other resort of resolving our disputes except as provided by the rules. And that's about rule 3, of course. You can see it now here. Anyway, I will not cite these rules in detail and word by word, because it's something that coaches would well know anyway. But if you have any questions on this, you will, of course, welcome to ask later, or even now if you want to. Okay, also I prepared, not like last time, I prepared the board behind me so we can move the boats around. And so if anyone of you wants to question, we can move the boats around, and then I can explain and see if that works as well as an interactive question answer tool. Please also do not hesitate to ask questions verbally. So you just turn the mic on and ask question when I'm speaking. That could be something also good. We can try. It's not group is not that big. I think it's 30 people, so we can maybe manage.
We agree,
right,
Neven. We agree.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Where are we going now to? I would maybe address not all the definitions, but if some of you have any particular interest in some of those that I would skip or not deal with, please come in and say we will review it. I found some of them sort of just self-explanatory, but some of them are maybe worth talking more about. Like, let's say, clear stern and clear head, overlap. Like mark room, for example, like keeping clear, proper course. Okay, let's go with the proper course. Let's start, go somewhere. Proper course would be something that a sailor would sail in the absence of other boats to finish as soon as possible, correct? But sailors also know that there is some restrictions in proper course, and sometimes proper course is tricky to deal with rule-wise because people don't know whether how that restriction works. And I think it's worth remembering that that restriction works for the right-of-way boat. But we will talk about it later at length because we will have some cases and show you some of the proper course scenarios. So proper course is where a course a boat would sail to finish as soon as possible in the absence of other boats referred to in the rule using the term. A boat has no proper course before her starting signal. Some people believe that proper course is after they start, which means crossing the line. That's wrong because the definition says differently. So it is after starting signal, wherever you are, the proper course kicks in. So at that time, the boat that has a relation with some others, like windward leeward, for example, needs to go to her proper course. It's in the start, in the pre-start, for example, race committee and you may well know, if the overlap is established by position clear astern, then before the gun, this is starting line, before the gun, the yellow can luff the other guy up head to wind, even if 17 is rule that limits the proper course of the leeward boat, they would be fine until the gun, all right? But at the starting signal, this boat needs to be at her proper course, correct? Proper course would be close hold because we are going upwind somewhere. But mind you, is it a penalty immediately just because the starting signal was given? No, because the proper course for this boat would be at the starting signal to go to the close hold. So that bit would count. So this is her proper course. At the gun, at the starting signal, going to the close hold will be all contained in it. So that's the obligation. For example, other examples of proper course is also here. At the pin, let's say this is 17 overlap created by clear stern situation, by yellow going this way, and she cannot make the mark without laughing. Would this be a proper course to go around? Yes, the answer is yes. She can shoot the mark. That's also limit. Well, the interpretation of proper course would sometimes you would believe that this is close hold course that is proper. Actually, her proper course is to go around that mark, and the shooting the mark, as long as she maintains the same tack, will be fine, and that will be her proper course. One more thing, we cannot talk definitions only if we do not introduce other rules, especially with these proper course issues. So we need to introduce Rule 17, which actually says that your proper course is limited by that rule. So Rule 17, I'll go kicking immediately to it. On the same tack, proper course, so that's one obligation, same tack. If a boat clear astern becomes overlapped within 2 of her hull lengths to leeward of a boat on the same tack, she shall not sail above her proper course while they remain on the same tack and overlap within that distance. Unless you're doing so, she promptly sails astern of the other boat and so on. But how the overlap could be established? The overlap could be established 2 ways, right? The overlap could be established by a boat behind that is faster, or the overlap could be established by the front boat that creates it by bearing away. In both these cases, that's Rule 7, that's 17 overlap. We call it that way, 17 overlap, because it started from position where they were clear. Of course, there is a cloud of lot of rules here that would apply, because that boat would be then quite vulnerable, the blue one. If she creates the overlap, then she is actually one that causes that overlap. She is actually giving the yellow boat a right of way. So the yellow, becomes right of way because of the action of the blue. So the blue has no protection of 15 neither. So we will go back to those later on more in detail. We can have issues of proper course at the top mark as well, because if someone comes to the top mark and then, let's say this way, like this, right? So then we have clear situation, and then after rounding the mark, this boat creates an overlap. All right? If it creates an overlap, that's 17 overlap. So that would oblige this guy to go down, to the next mark, wherever she is. If the mark is there, it's fine, if it is just a reach. But if it is downwind, then the proper course would not be that high. So she would not be able to luff this boat out. So there is also proper course. The similar thing is on the downwind mark as well. There is a limitation. So if in the rounding the bottom mark, the boat that comes behind, after blue was given room and so on, so she actually is maybe in a position to, because this one is slowing down, so she might be in a position to create an overlap from behind. That's 17 as well. So she cannot go above her proper course, probably close hold in this time. So no laughing away if that's the case. All right, so that is another very critical situation about proper course. It's when the boats go downwind on the and they're hitting well, you probably well know about it, but this overlap was established by clear stern. And let's say this is ley line, sort of. I'll put it a little bit higher so that we can, all right, this way. So there is obligation on this boat not to sail above her proper course. Proper course for, do you see me well? So the proper course for this guy would be perhaps to jibe at some point to reach this mark, which is a gate perhaps, right? So there is obvious conflict between the interests of these two boats, because this guy wants to be inside and this guy wants to be clear ahead at the zone. So this guy would tend to push more and more. And if she is obviously above the ley line, she might have been above her proper course. And that would be something that would be against her. But if this boat wants to push her this way, this boat will not be exempt from not keeping clear as a windward boat. So there is a scenario where both boats could be actually guilty of breaking a rule. So this is just a brief whereabouts and environments where we will be talking about later about the proper course. This is just an illustration for the definition itself. We will later on answer more questions perhaps from you. So the proper course sometimes could be something very illogical, something that we do not think fits into sailing the course. It would appear looking away even from mark, but then there is a justification. So whenever a sailor can justify and with some consistency can sail that course and have enough grounds to explain it why, especially afterwards in the jury room, then that could be a proper course. And then between those two courses, because yellow would say one course that's my proper course, windward, but the other guy would say, well, that's my proper course. In case of conflict of those two courses, if there is a doubt about which one, then we would say, yeah, the leeward boat course would be taken as the one that would determine what is the proper course. All right. So I will give you one more little picture that would also, I hope, demonstrate this definition. Just bear with me a bit, please. Yeah. I can't find my, just a second, please. I don't understand why I can't find Costas the share button. Ah, here. Sorry. Getting there.
You already shared something. Yeah, that's why.
Yeah. I got it. Because the share button is hidden on top of it. Do you see now the picture?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So this is one of the old designs from Baran Branville. So you have A, B, C, D. This is so schematic, but obviously the A chose course closer to the shore for the weak tide. So that's his estimate what course would be for her, and maybe her ability as well, because it's all combination. But then D is going to another extreme, going with a strong wind and even against strong tide, believing that he might get there. So all these choices are legitimate and fine, but then when we have a problem about proper courses, that they go together and then if they get together, then in between A and B, we may decide, if we have any doubt, that there's a leeward boat that would leeward boat course that would then prevail in our estimation what actually proper course is at that moment. Okay, any questions to that? We are still in the process of definitions. We touched another definition at the moment, which is clear. One more thing. No proper no limitation on 17 would be if the distance between the two boats are more than 2 lengths. So if they are converging like this, and they're coming from more than 2 lengths in between, that's not. So the yellow needs to go away, and blue can laugh as much as she pleases, provided she gives room, of course, to heads to wind, and there is no limitation on her proper course in this. So 2 lengths are one of it. So the next logical definition that comes into play is clear astern, clear ahead, right? And overlaps. Well, I'm always surprised actually how many new sort of uncertainties I find by sailors of such a simple. We believe it is a simple. Oh yeah, sailing is never simple, especially rules are not simple. But I mean, overlap is just a basic thing that everybody thinks it's fine with it. But sometimes you get surprises because we may not be so clear about it. So the definition of overlap actually says that you are overlapped if neither of the two boats are clear astern, right? And you are clear astern if you are not in front of the line that passes by the stern of the other boat. So that would mean this. So the blue is ahead, the line passing astern of the other boat defines that this guy is clear astern. Do you see well? Yeah. And the definition says that overlap exists when neither of them is clear astern. So this one is now clear astern, this one is clear ahead. So if this one crosses this line, she would be, well, she would not be, as the definition says, ahead of the line, but she would neither be behind the line. So she is then not clear astern because she crosses this line. And this guy is in front of her line, and that's how it connects. So neither of them is clear astern, because clear astern is defined as being behind the line. So if you are ahead or crossing the line of the other boat that passes astern of its last point perpendicularly, then you are, by definition, clear astern. And then it says, well, we need another boat to say, if these are not overlapped, if this one overlaps both of them, then those are yellow and blue, they are also overlapped. Fine, but if this one is somewhere here, then we say these two are not overlapped. Okay? So this red should be in between. But then we have a situation like this. Oh, now I have a problem, because I don't have a one that. Oh, nice. Oh, stay there. All right, so starboard, port, and this guy is in between. Doesn't matter, because we have now overlaps. The rule says that overlap also applies for the boats that are on opposite tacks. If they are more than 90 degrees to each other of the wind. And then if we have someone in between, if they are not overlapped and overlaps both of them, then it will be again an overlap. Especially if the angles are not such, then you will have two boats that are same tack and one that is let's say, this way. And then you have the boat that is intervening in between on the opposite tacks, still creating an overlap. So that's something for the mark rounding later on that we would address more in detail. Let me see if I can present you something that, yeah, overlap, okay. I hope you can see now all sorts of overlaps here. Kostas, do we see a picture with this?
Yes, Neven, it's okay.
Thank you very much. All right, so these are all relationships that we can have. Mind you, here is an arrow saying that the equipment should be in normal position. So if a spinnaker is released, that would not count for the overlap. It would be then not considered overlap until the last picture here, the spinnaker is pulled in and then it sets. Okay, this picture does not actually show the overlaps, and say for these spinnakers downwind on below 90 degrees. So if we are on the different tacks, so all this is mostly same tacks, right? Everywhere is same tack. Everything I talk about it already. For example, this green and red not overlap because they're opposite tacks. They would be if they just go hoops down 90 degrees, more than 90 degrees. Okay. Situation like this, for example.
Neven, I lost your camera. Neven, can you hear me?
Yeah, I am. I'm hearing you well, but is my camera on now?
Yes, now it's on.
Can you see me?
Yes, okay. I can see you now.
And the picture as well. Can you see the picture?
Yes, everything is okay now.
With blue boat and black and white. I hope I shared it, right?
Yes, it's okay.
We have problem connecting the net. It's okay. I had a little sign that we have problem connecting the network on the. Sorry about that. All right, so that's it. Any questions? Just go ahead if you want to. One more. Well, this is what we said before. It is not. The blue and white are not overlapped because the intervening boat is not in between them. But the word in the definition is between. It needs to be between them that can overlap them. Both. Okay, let me see what other definition I would find useful at this stage. It's keep clear, right? That's something very used, words very much used. Keep clear, keep clear. Right, so let me get there. In order to stand up in front of the board, I can put this to you. So in all these cases, do we believe that the boat keeps clear? Red boat. I think not, because in 1, 2, and 3 yellow, each time yellow has to alter course. And that would be something in contradiction, if we go to the keep clear bit, keep clear A would then say, keep clear boat should be able to sail her course if the right-of-way boat can sail her course with no need to take avoiding action. So in those pictures here, it looks like that yellow needs to alter course. Oh my God, where is that? Yellow needs to alter course in 1, 2, and 3 to sail her, have to change course in order to sail her course. Otherwise, there would be a collision. But then we have 4. Can we say that yellow in position 4 can sail her course without necessity of avoiding the red? We can say yes. But then we have a second part of definition that would say yes, she can do that. But if the red is so close that immediate contact would occur if yellow alters course, then we would not be happy that this is keeping clear. And well, what would we usually say, the longer the red is there, the more vulnerable she is, and she must keep clear. And she would be probably one to blame. Now we come to the discussion, what is immediate, and we have an environment here about the next rule that we can introduce, which is 16, which is, of course, the right-of-way boat is absolutely free to sail any course she wishes, but there is a single but, provided that she gives room. And the room that she provides should be given each time she changes course. So if she can change course anytime, there is a limitation saying that each time she does it, she needs to provide room. So mind you, if the two boats are approaching each other and then the starboard tack is changing course all the time, she's actually creating each time new situation that would start with new parameters, which is distance and time, that is room, actually, the space that is given to the other boat to keep clear. Well, we have set of rules that are right of way, that are keep clear of some limitations. You know, if we have, let's say, starboard tack is always right, and the port always has to keep clear. So that's why port would come to race course anyway. So she should stay home. So we need some adjustments, some relationship to define between them in order to create the game. The game becomes possible, because otherwise we will not have a game possible. So we need that room, and the concept of that room seemed to be very successful over the times. So in order to have still an opponent on the other tack, we need to give him room. So that room, okay, that I will finish now, Kostas. That room will be required by the right-of-way boat, and that right-of-way boat needs to estimate what is actually a next definition, which is room. And we will talk about it at pause, 10 minutes after. Yeah, is that right, Kostas? We have a pause now.
Yes, it is right, Neven. Let's go for a break.
Okay. Yeah, we go for a break, 10 minutes. So we see next at 12, right? Am I right?
Yes. Let's go to the break, Neven. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Πρώτο διάλειμμα του σεμιναρίου, και στο διάστημα του 10 λεπτού θα σας δείξουμε πλάνα από το Πανευρωπαϊκό Πρωτάθλημα ΦΙΝ και θα επανέλθουμε σε 10 λεπτά. Και εδώ βλέπουμε εντυπωσιακά πλάνα από το Ευρωπαϊκό Πρωτάθλημα του Φιν. Και τώρα βλέπουμε πλάνα από το Περιφερειακό Πρωτάθλημα Λέιζερ. Κυρίες και κύριοι, και τώρα επανερχόμαστε στο σεμινάριο.
I can... Did anybody put this yellow, green, and blue boat on the screen?
It's yours.
Interesting. It's mine. Oh, it was not intended. I wanted this one. And I want this thing to talk about. Room.
Check the chat, please.
Oh my God, where is my... Say again, I could not hear.
Check the
We
chat.
can hear you. We can hear you.
Do you all hear my rule book? And the definition room, right? Kostas, can you see that?
No.
Because I'm sharing it. Okay, let's try again. Maybe I was wrong. Let's see. Okay, again, Acrobat. Now.
Yes, it's okay now.
Thanks God. Okay, so we are at the room now. And the room says the space a boat needs in existing conditions, including space to comply with her obligations under rules of Part 2. Rules of Part 2 are all those rules we're going to talk today a lot, which is port, starboard, windward, leeward, ahead, astern, and so on, tucking and basic stuff mostly, and especially 15, 16, 17 environment. And then plus 31, which is touching the mark. So that room she needs also not to touch that mark, while maneuvering promptly in a seaman-like way. So lots of very important bits in very condensed definition. So space, existing conditions, maneuvering promptly, and seaman-like way. This all needs to be given by the right-of-way boat when she is leeward and laughing to the windward boat. We all agree to that. Out of our experience so far. And in this position here, number 4, if she is too close, that any alteration, of course, by the leeward boat, which is up or down, which is touching her by the stern or by the bow, immediately, and now we're coming to what is immediately, then she would not be considered as keeping clear, the red one, if immediate contact would occur. But yellow always needs to respect rule 16. Whenever she alters course, she needs to provide that room. If that room was not provided, then she is in trouble. Mind you, if she just slumps her stern suddenly into the windward boat, that would be 16, right? Because that wouldn't be room really given, because room, again, it's space in existing conditions for maneuvering promptly in seaman-like way. How could windward, after that abrupt bear away of the leeward that swangs the stern into her, could maneuver promptly in seaman-like way? That's not possible, in my mind at least. So if you have questions about that, we can evaluate it more later. All right. So then, let me find maybe some other. In this picture here, we have a blue that is establishing an overlap from behind, like we did before. That's 17, obviously. But then the room is so small that actually the windward cannot respond, or if she responds immediately, there would be a touch, and that happened in situation 2. That would be then on. Cannot see the picture, really. Oh my goodness. Ooh. Let me see why.
We can see the rules.
And now you
we
can see the picture.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for the remark. Right, so we go back again. Blue is actually behind, and she establishes an overlap very close to the windward boat, and windward boat responding to that luff touches the leeward boat. So that would be responsibility of someone that actually initially put a burden on the other boat to keep clear, because before, right of way boat was boat ahead, right? That was the yellow. But all of a sudden, because of the action of the blue, yellow becomes keep clear boat, and she needs room. And again, we go to that definition, room in the prevailing conditions, and to maneuver in a similar way promptly. So if that would trigger that contact, that would be on blue, because needs to provide room. Which room would be applicable here? It's another of limitations. There are three limitations, 15, 16, and 17. We've gone from 17 down to 16, and now we are in the 15. 15 would be if the boat behind, in this case blue, creates an obligation, a new right of way on her own. So she becomes right, she acquires the right of way, then she needs to be given, need to give room the other boat that can disappear from that space. But if it is too quick, then it is not possible. So it would be some sort of a space in time and room around it that blue needs to be careful there. I'll give you another one. So let's say this one, but you can see this one now, B1, B2, B3, and yellow 1, 2, and 3. So in position 1, there is an obligation on blue to keep clear. It's a windward boat. And then in position 2, yellow slightly laughs. But it doesn't mean that she does a lot. The blue doesn't do a lot from B1 to B2, and her obligation is there all the time. She's windward boat. That seemed to be something on blue, delaying the, how it is, this, I mean, presented in the diagram. Something blue is actually delaying her obligation to keep clear. Let's go another example. Let's say this. So blue and yellow are coming parallel courses. So blue is windward. So if blue laughs, yellow laughs, blue responds fine in B2. And then if we are satisfied that blue is continuing her turn, keeping clear, then it would be, if contact occurs in 4, yellow's responsibility. But if we are satisfied that blue delayed and that's stopped in the process of keeping clear, then we would go against blue and say, well, blue is one to keep clear, and she failed to continuously do maneuver and go out of that position from B1 until B4, even worse, even more into the tack. So blue's obligation is to keep clear, even if she needs to go away from the tack, because if she stays there, she would be under that definition of keeping clear B, vulnerable under condition that actually yellow by any alteration, of course, would create an immediate contact. So if she stays there too long, that's blue. If she is in continuous avoidance, avoiding maneuver, and then yellow should be careful, because after her luff was established in 2. All right. We can have this situation as well at some times, that we have a contact, and so the same logic as I said before would apply. So the blue would be if the blue's response was delayed and stalled in position from B2, B3, then we would say that contact would have occurred in 4 without, even because the blue was not keeping clear already. So the contact would have occurred anyway, and that would be on blue. But if the blue B4 position is actually a part of her continuous keeping clear maneuver, then yellow's alteration in position 4 would be actually creating the problem, because then yellow would be to blame, because yellow should have stayed as in position Y3 and allow B to go away. All right. So it depends how the situation was created. So very often I was asked about the situation that happened, and then I would conclude many times, well, who created it all? So we need to start. So it is not just the freeze of the last moment. It is development of the whole thing and how the rules were shifting from one another. So obligations are shifting from one boat to another boat until the final incident. So we need to establish what were like where we are approaching the mark and going around the marks. It's the same. So the things are developing. So the whole rule situation is before that zone, already established by basic rules. And then when we hit the zone, there is another set of obligations that are shifting back and forth between the boats or among the boats, because there could be many. And then, of course, around the mark, there are many rules that would just jump over one to another boat, and obligations will change. So all this needs to be addressed to actually understand why a final incident happened and who is one to be responsible for them. Could be both boats, could be one boat, or may not be a breach, neither, depends. All right, let me see if I have any other example for you here. Okay, well, let's see this one. So does B1 keeps clear? I think yes, but if yellow in second slide alters course down and touches the B, she is not guilty for that. She wasn't given room in position 2 to keep clear. So I would say that would be a responsibility of yellow. Okay, let's see this one. That would be again a responsibility of yellow. So blue, that is lured and then goes down. So yellow in position 2 actually doesn't really help blue to keep clear fully, right? Because she is reducing that room that blue needs to keep clear. So that's one of the another examples where the limitations on right-of-way boats are important to foresee. Let me see something. Okay. You see this one? Port starboard?
Yes, Neven.
Okay, perfect. So I think that's a case 88, so you may read it over there when you have time, but P is obviously decided to keep clear a little bit too late, right? So there was no contact in this situation. So S1, P1 seems fine. P2 and S2 is somehow, if yellow or whatever, starboard boat would not have bed down, there would have been a contact in P3. But she actually moved opposite to the picture before I show you. Actually, not this one, this one. So actually, yellow releases the room, creates more room for the poor Tucker. And what we would say there, actually, the case argues and says, well, this is breach of the rule, not keeping clear, because initially she should have kept more clear, not to deserve extra room from starboard in the position from S2 to S3. If if S would not be creating that room, then P would not have missed her. So that was not keeping clear. I advise you to look at 88 maybe, and then you can come back with some other remarks. You can make someone argue maybe what about S1, S2 was that alteration, of course, limiting space for P, but that's open to discussion potentially. So another case that I may also advise you to read if you wish. So it is about saying that when starboard needs to do something, is starboard keeping clear in position? Is port keeping clear in position 1, P1, P2, and P3? So we have 3 boats coming on port, and 1 starboard boat, that is that black thing coming on starboard, 1, 2, 3. So if first boat avoided the starboard and second boat avoided the starboard, the third boat did not avoid the starboard. So it demonstrates that it needs to be clear to starboard tacker that the other guy is not going to take avoiding action, not going to keep clear, and then she would be exempt from her obligations not to cause the contact. So I would advise that case for you to also to read about, and talks about keep clear as well. Okay. This case is also maybe interesting, 91, so you can put it down and read it later if you like. It is about spinnaker going behind in B1A1. We have an equipment that is flying behind the spinnaker in particular. So would be B responsible for that touch if occurs? It is not expected that B, who should keep clear, would predict that spinnaker is going to touch her. So we would not go against B here, but there could be a rule 14, right? Because the contact occurred. So there would be some responsibility then on alpha here. Another word read case if you like. All right, that's all about keep clear from me. Next one, very interesting. Very depends how you look at it. Mark room. Mark room. It's also something that many years we are struggling actually. All the rules seem to be working quite well, those basic ones. But then we come to rule 18, and that is passing round the mark, and then there is not a single issue of rule book for last many years that we do not tweak rule 18 somehow. And as well, mark room also always have some adjustments. I think the next one would have, next rule book as well will have some adjustments of mark room. But as it is now, the mark room is written this way. It's a room. And you see this room here? Okay, room. That's in italics. So it means that all this part here comes in. All this part, the space boat needs in existing, and all this comes into that single word that is in mark room. Okay. And that is the room in Siemens, like in prevailing room in the prevailing conditions to maneuver promptly in Siemens-like way. That's in that single room word. And then for a boat to leave a mark on the required side, mark is also defined thing that is above. And as you see, mark could be an object that boat needs to leave on the specified side, and have some limitations on committee vessel, but anchor line is not its part, so we may discuss this as well at length later. For a boat to leave mark on the required side, also room to sail to the mark when her proper course is to sail close to it, and room to round the mark as necessary to sail the course. There are two conditions here. Mark room differs in other disciplines of sailing, like appendices in match racing or maybe team racing. I'm not sure if they have also. And of course, it could be within other disciplines like boards or kite and so on. But first, what an outside boat, we know outside boat needs to give room, fine. But outside boat needs to give a room to sail to the mark when the proper course is to sail close to it. So that's the room, that's a corridor. It's not just a line that we usually draw on our boards. It's very easy, simplified. The room is something more dynamic, and it engages space, which is, we would easily say, corridor, actually, that boat needs. Once they hit the zone, that corridor they need to go to that mark is to be given. And that would be, if that's the proper course to sail there, because mark would be, it might not be that course they need to, but they may pass that mark at distance. So there is no need to go to that mark anymore because there is another one that needs to be passed. So if we go to that mark, fine, that corridor needs to be given. And at that mark, again, a B says the round mark is necessary to sail the course. What means to sail the course? So the course means where we're going. So if we're going back to top mark, if this gate, then that's the course. And which course would be there available? One or the other close hold course is port or starboard to top mark. Or if the next course is like going to the reach mark, that would be sailing that course. So that room needs to be given as long as this is. So I think one of your questions that I given to you was one here, and we can discuss it now. And I will open it. Let me just open. Now I need to share. I need to share the Word document, I think. Yeah. Oh, this is one. I asked which rule B broke. Anybody wants to answer that question? Anyway, we will come to the question answering later. But the situation is, you see this to the next mark. So the room that, in this particular case, B was clear astern at the zone. So A has mark room, right? So B is giving that mark room until when? Until all the time, because she, even until 3, the mark room was given. And 4, the next one is to the next mark. So at the mark, she needs to be, the yellow needs, the white, or A, sorry, needs to be given, by definition B, the mark to go, mark room to go to the next, to sail the course. And that sail the course would be to the next mark. So in this final position here, we have just the basic rules, right? 11. But mark room was actually by B given to sail, if we go to definition, to sail the course. Because the course was not going up, the course was just going straight. All right. And then we have some limitations, which is, however, mark room for a boat does not include room to tack unless she is overlapped inside to windward of the boat required to give mark room, and she will be fetching the mark after that tack. So I think this is explanatory. If you have questions to that one, we can discuss it. All right, let's see further. Well, there are those definitions, tack, starboard, and port. I would not address it. Zone, you know the history of zone. It's 3 hull lengths of the zone boards. Many of you might be coaches for a board, and And of course, they don't have zone. They have a concept about to round, which was preceding the concept of fixed zone like it is now, even in the rule book. So the boats were about to round. When they were about to round, they would be then the rule of passing around the mark would 18 or whatever number was in time in place would kick in. And now we have a fixed zone, so everybody can understand, but not easily is recognized where the zone is. Well, obviously the windsurfers get along with it, so they know exactly when they are about to round the mark. And whether you like it or not, the concept, it's what we have. So at tree length zone, the rules changes in a way. Sometimes, not sometimes, but obviously, because the obligations are then starting at when we hit the zone. And that's important to know. Some other classes, like in Appendix Echo, for example, for radio control, you will have 4 lengths, obviously because they are sort of very fast boats, and some would have less than 3, like match racing would have 2, and so on. So of course we need to be aware of what zone we are talking about. How much distance is that? What other definition I would love to say more about? Let me see. Maybe we can just address briefly a conflict of interest and support person, because you mainly are such. And the conflict. Those 2 definitions are fairly new. They are as you can see, there is a line next to it, so they are introduced in the latest book, and it will continue there as well. So, conflict of interest. A person has a conflict of interest if she may gain, or he or she should, may gain or lose as a result of a decision to which he contributes, may reasonably appear to have a personal or financial interest, which could affect his ability to be impartial, or has a close personal interest in decision. So this is you, coaches, right? And of course, could be judges as well, because the judges could be fathers and mothers, or other way related to parties that have a conflict and that would gain or lose because of the decision. But in all this environment, there is another one, which is a support person, and that one is a new as well. And support person, which is your category, mainly, it is a person that provides or may provide physical or advisory support to a competitor, including any coach, trainer, manager, team staff, medic, paramedic, or any other person working with, treating, or assisting a competitor in or preparing for the competition, or if the parent or guardian of a competitor. So it's a lot of things. Many people are listed here. It's very interesting because before we did not have such a definition. Such a definition kicked in after we had years and years of discussion whether we and how need to include coaches and support person within our rule book. And basically because there was no jurisdiction, so it was not possible to act and to serve the sport in a proper manner, because the behavior of those people were not regulated like it was for the sailors. And sailors are fully regulated because they have a set of rules, they are behaving according to those principles, and they have penalty to take, and that's the basic principle. But what about all those guys that are parallel with them? They also need to sort of follow all the same principles and same rules and so on. So there is a set of rules, and we will more discuss tomorrow about support persons and what the procedures are if there is a problem with those persons. Generally, it's not much against that you can do with the support. But support persons actually are people to be thanked because they are supporting the sport in general. So they need to be a partner, not somebody that is excluded. So that's a reason why they need to be integrated in the rules as well, and they need to have their place. And there is no effective punishment that you can apply against those, because if you say, "Oh, your sailors would be punished because you misbehaved," then we are not giving a sport a favor, because the sailors will then be not under surveillance. They will be not helped in their effort, and that's completely wrong. And you can report and make later disciplinary measures against people, but at the time there is no way. So we need these people like partners. We don't need. The same thing happens with the judges. Judges also could do awful stuff, allegedly. You don't know, but there is also a separate procedure for them. So also they are treated in the regulations within the sport of sailing, and they have a special procedure provided for how to deal with the judges if the judges may have done something wrong in the procedures, or damaged the sport, or put it into disrepute or something. So there are regulated areas. I may say that this seems to be working well. Some people would say there are some gray areas as well still, but we have what we have, and we need to respect it. Is anybody having any remarks on that, or wants to discuss any particular point in this? Please come forward. I said we will go into. Okay, with it, we have a question. Aha, we have a question about the mark. Anastasia, if we have to deal with different classes, big keelboat versus small keelboat, which boat length defines the zone? Well, the zone is the one that, let me see, definition is here, just a second. So it is one that is closer, that defines the zone. If that answers your question. I think I have also some picture for you. Let me see. And I think you answered it. Isn't it set from the boat closer to the mark? And the answer is yes. Okay, you answered it yourself. Thank you. That was Alexandros Christaras. Sorry for my pronunciation. Okay, there was another question. Anastasia, can you speak, Anastasia?
Yes, it's not Anastasia, it's Nikos. My daughter's name is Anastasia.
Sorry. Never mind. Thank you very much. So you were asking a question: are yellow and green overlapped?
Yes, I sent you a photo before.
Okay.
Do you want me to send it again?
Well, I need to find it. So that was my question, because I saw it, but I was not sure how it got into my screen. So because I
put it in the screen and I take it off.
Yeah, please do it. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Wait a minute.
Oh yeah, I've seen that picture before, but I was thinking whether it was mine or was your. Yeah, the question is whether yellow or blue are over, or yellow or green, right?
Green and green.
Yeah. Hmm. I have green, I have yellow as well. Is that what you're saying, right?
Yep.
All right. If we do not have a blue, these guys are not overlapped, right? If we have blue in, like here, then we draw the lines. So is blue overlapped with yellow?
Yes.
Okay, we agree to that. Is blue overlapped with green?
The same.
Yes, they are. So the rule, the definition says if both in between overlaps both, then yellow and green will be overlapped, right?
Yeah.
So technically you're right, that's okay, but how much practical use this could be, it's a question to see. It's rather theoretical. I don't know whether this is of any practical, how much practical use we can have from it. I would love to hear. Anybody has a comment?
A few seconds. Okay, I mute myself, okay? I go off.
No, it's fine. Be with me, because the answer to your question is yes.
Yeah.
But my next question is how much we can profit. What would be a practical consequence of this? Coming to the mark?
If the zone is very close, then it's a question.
Yeah. That could be a case. But it would be very difficult sometimes maybe to establish it. Yeah. It would be a hard process of establishing it maybe in the jury room. Because course. Whenever we would have any doubt whether overlap was or not, because it could be a brief moment, right?
Yeah.
And then that brief moment in the arguments needs to be established clearly in order to make sure that green would be inside both, right?
If it's a class like 49ers, then it's seconds, less than second. But if it's a long kill boats in very light wind, then it would be a lot.
Yeah. There is no doubt. Yes.
It depends on the situation.
It does, yeah. Anyway, so technically fine, that's not a problem. So yeah, for me,
okay.
Anybody has a different opinion? Yeah. Anybody has a different opinion?
Oh, I go off. Thank you very much.
Yeah, okay. Well, if anybody has any difference in opinion, fine. But obviously, we are all on the same side. We all believe it is an overlap, right? Because we consider the blue in between. Because the rule says they overlap when neither is clear astern. However, they also overlap when a boat between them overlaps both. So if you have, see, is she between? That's my worry. When she is between, here, is she now between? You know, don't. The rules are such that we do not always have a straightforward answer, but it's nice to think about it. So if we consider this is between, then this is overlap. I tend to believe yes. Okay. Any other? Let me see if there is any questions more. Zone, okay.
You don't share anything with us, Neven?
Kostas, say again, please.
You don't share anything with us.
Okay, thank you. All right. Why this happens to me? Yeah, I've still not learned. I'm learning and learning, Kostas. Thank you. All right. Okay, I would not anymore write on this mark with stars. Object, overlap, protest, racing, room, rules, star. It's all more or less. Okay, we can go now to the basic rules, right? The next very important part of the rules is part 2. And what the sailors need to know is just this, because in the heat of the game, what they know, how much they could be concentrated. So there are simple construction of these rules. We have section A, which would say section A's rule right of way. They call it that way, this way, right of way. Interesting. So it addresses when a boat has right of way, and it's 3 cases or 4 with 13. So right of way is when I am leeward. First, right of way when I'm starboard, right of way when I'm leeward, right of way when I am ahead, and right of way when I am on attack and the other one is not. And then we have a cloud of details among them. So these are the one thing, right of way rules. Let me see if I can share some pictures. I hope you see this. Yellow is what? Port. And it looks like the whole world is against her, right? Because the only boat that has to keep clear of her is the red one. All the rest is just, she needs to be attentive of everybody, because she is windward to blue 3, she is windward to green 1, she is port to 3 green, as well as 2 blue, and as well to the 4 green. So it's really a difficult position, isn't it, to go downwind with on port. So the only sector that she is safe from is that one with where the red 2 is. Let's go 11. Nothing much here. Well, that's port star. 2 boats on starboard. Red has to keep clear, right? So easy. Windward, leeward. But then we have 13. That's interesting. So what we think about 13? In position 1, they were both on port, and they're at the position 1.2 or 1.5, right? They were head to wind. And at position 2, they were what? Both tacking. Let's go this way. Where are these boats? Okay, let's say this one. I hope it will be clear for you to what I'm trying to say is, okay, we are laughing up to this position, so we are in the position where we are head to wind. What we used to say, what we know is that once we are head to wind, like we don't know, we don't see which side this wind is just filling up. So it's, if you just see this boat heads to wind, you don't know which tack he's on, unless you know the history. And history here is they were on port before, and as soon as they are reached heads to wind, they are still port, both of them. And once they start tacking, going beyond head to wind, they become tacking yachts. And they are also becoming starboard. And they are both starboard, they are tacking. And then the rule 13 saying that the boat that is tacking has to keep clear of boat that is not. But if they are both tacking, then the rule itself says that if they are tacking, one on the right is the right. And if one is behind as well, because in this process it could happen also this thing if the overlap is not like this. Okay, let's make it like this. I hope I got the colors right. And then in next situation this happens, so they are both stacking at this time. So one that is on the right or one that is behind would be the right of way. Kostas, do we have now break?
Yes, Neven, if it's okay, let's go to a break. Okay?
What is the next? Yeah, okay. What is the next time?
10 minutes after.
Okay.
Να περάσουμε στο δεύτερο διάλειμμα διάρκειας 10 λεπτών.
3 minutes to the start of our first medal race of the World Championships here in Aarhus. We began over a week ago with 90 sailors, and we're now down to the final 10 in the Finn class, and incredibly, all of them could win a medal. That's one end.
Στο Aarhus το 2018 έγιναν τα πρωταθλήματα όλων των Ολυμπιακών κατηγοριών και ήταν πρόκριση και για την Ολυμπιάδα. Να παρακολουθήσουμε τα όμορφα πλάνα.
Right, the red bib of Josh Jr. of New Zealand and Dutchman Nicholas Heine sitting in fourth. They're all chasing that gold medal, and the pressure is up, but the conditions are absolutely fabulous out there. The sun is shining, the breeze is up. We're in for a fantastic medal race, a fantastic day of racing. The clock is counting down to the start of the Finn medal race here in Aarhus in Denmark. The first medal race of the Sailing World Championships. Evie looking at that start line, and Jordan looking at your data. How's it looking?
Port end of the line is favoured, so the pin end, the opposite end to the committee boat, is favoured by 15 metres at the moment. The length to the first mark is just on 1 kilometre.
There we can see the position of the course right in close to the shore, so the fans watching from the dockside can see the action right up close. Where would you put your boat, Evie?
At the moment, as Jordan was saying, portside has an advantage, and I think it will be key in this race to get a good start and to have good boat speed. As we were saying earlier, the wind is quite stable and not so much differences, so that will be very important.
So the start line in front of us between the two boats, and at the moment there seems to be no preference amongst the fleet on which side to go. Our first four all trying to hunt down the gold medal. And keep an eye out for sail number 33 of Sweden. There it is. Max Salminen is the man to catch. Remember, the top 8 could potentially snatch that gold medal from him. By making this medal race, these sailors have already qualified their countries for Tokyo 2020. So this race is personal. It's all about personal gain. It's about world titles. And we're just under 10 seconds to go now to the start of the Finn medal race. And the fleet is away. It's an all clear from the committee boat as they are spread out along the line. And first advantage.
I would say that the wind shifted a little bit more to the right on the starting line. It's too early to call any favored side at the moment. So those who are having a good start are definitely in the favored position.
Nick Heine and Alkan Kana both had a good little jump out from the line as well, so I love watching these boats.
So there's a penalty for Argentina. That's for Kundo Oleza for pumping at the start. Can you explain that, Jordan?
Yep, so pumping at the start is accelerating, so the boat's got to move by the act of the wind over the sails, so you can't overly pump your sails or rock the boat. So the Argentinian has been busted for that, rule 42. And
a little bit too keen off the line. One of the youngsters coming through the fleet, Facundo Oleza of Argentina.
Just will clarify, once they go downwind, if it was over 10 knots, they are allowed to pump downwind, but in this situation, the pumping flag wasn't up, so no luck.
Well, in these early stages, Nicholas Heine of the Netherlands is out in front. So slender leads from the New Zealander, Andy Maloney. Tom Ramshaw of Canada in third.
The start is all critical in our sport, and he got a fantastic start. For Nicholas to win, he's got to beat our leader by at least 5 boats, so it is a big claim or big drive for him. I love this shot as well.
Yeah, you can see the different techniques and how they look around the boat, keeping an eye on each other. Those are our top four in this race. The yellow bib of Max Salminen of Sweden, the defending world champion.
Yeah, and at first we saw the majority of them going to the left, and we've seen a little bit of a wind shift making them tack towards the right.
Or keeping clear or doing the best possible to avoid a contact. And it crossed my mind one thing. It is, if I'm right of way boat all the time, and then I'm barging with my starboard, I'm convincing myself all the time I'm right, I would actually never be sure what time I would say. When is that reasonable? So I found maybe easy, maybe I'm wrong, you can discuss with me that. If we say the right-of-way boat needs to give room, as we discussed before with the keep clear definition. So if the right-of-way boat always keeps reminding itself about, am I giving room, am I giving room, then I think would be easier for him to understand at what point in time the room was given, but the other guy wasn't doing anything. Then it would be maybe a help to understand when is reasonable. So reasonable is because if I keep right of way boat and I'm giving room and addressing, am I giving room now? Because I'm holding my course, I'm giving room, distance is such, I'm still holding my course, room is still. And at the time that you see that the room was not sufficient anymore, that the guy was not taken, that would be a trigger that it's potentially reasonably possible to avoid the guy, because he obviously was not using the room I was giving. So I found maybe a possibility that this would help in saying, if you are aware of your giving room concept, not I'm right. No, I'm give room both, whether I'm leeward or starboard or boat that is ahead. So anytime was I giving room? And that thing would potentially trigger this reasonably possible moment to avoid contact with the other boat. That's just my comment. And I'm not sure whether you would be fancying what I said, but you may have another principles that you wish to share and think maybe when is the reasonably possible moment. In every culture or language, we might find differences, what is reasonably possible. But this is a thing that needs to be addressed in the juries, because each boat that has right of way and the contact occurred, then it would be, that boat will be asked by the jury, so what did you do at what time not this to happen? How did you help this? And then someone else needs to adjust and actually address the issue. Was it reasonably possible for that guy to comprehend that this could happen or not, and what time? So there is no within the rules there is no onus or sort of anticipation that you need to be anticipating. I know all you coaches and all sailors, some things they do in anticipation because of the tactical reasons, but not rule-wise. Rule does not require you to put yourself into the future position. Although, if I know for myself, or that we are, for example, umpiring on the water, and you can't umpire well if you do not put yourself into the future position, that you will be the witness, the good witness of an incident, potentially incident. So you need.
We don't have sound again.
Neven, we lost you. Neven, if you can hear me, we have no sound and no camera from you.
Maybe if you try to stop share your screen, maybe you have better network then.
Neven, can you hear me? Neven?
Adriano.
Μάλλον το έχει κοπεί η σύνδεση του ίντερνετ.
Παιδιά, να περιμένουμε λίγο γιατί έχουμε κάποιο πρόβλημα με τον Neven. Ζητάμε συγγνώμη, παιδιά, θα περιμένουμε λίγο γιατί έχουμε χάσει τη σύνδεση με τον Neven.
Η σύνδεση με τον κύριο Neven έχει σταματήσει προς το παρόν. Λίγα λεπτά υπομονή μέχρι να συνδεθούμε ξανά. Ωστόσο, ας δούμε το βίντεο με το Athens International Sailing Center. Προσπαθεί ακόμα ο κύριος Neven να συνδεθεί με εμάς από την Κροατία όπου βρίσκεται. Λίγο υπομονή και παρακολουθούμε τα πλάνα από το Athens International Sailing Center.
Three minutes to the start of our first medal race of the World Championships here in Aarhus. We began over a week ago with 90 sailors, and we're now down to the final 10 in the Finn class, and incredibly, all of them could win a medal. That's one end of the start line. The 3-minute flag is flying, and those are the leading four in the Finns. Max Salmon, top left corner. John Borberic of Hungary with the blue bib in the right, the red bib of Josh Jr. of New Zealand, and Dutchman Nicholas Heiner sitting in...
Κυρίες και κύριοι, επιστρέφουμε στο σεμινάριο.
We are back? Okay, good. So where I was interrupted, now it's a question. I'll repeat rule 14 then.
Όχι, είναι κλειστά από εδώ. Ναι.
All right, so we are back, guys. So we are back to rule 14 again. I hope that I was interrupted when I started talking rule 14. Do you agree, or where was I interrupted? Let's go with 14 then. All right, so here we are. I'm getting organized. Just a second, please. Chart. Aha, so my last was what you should have on your mind as a right-of-way boat. Yeah. So my thought was, I don't know whether you would agree to that or not, that if a sailor is you have a right-of-way, right? Either you leeward or starboard. Perhaps it's much better to have in mind giving room than I'm right. Because that concept of giving room, keeping in your mind would trigger earlier, was the other guy using that room that you are providing? But if you are not aware of whether you are giving room or not, then maybe that would be delayed or even not triggered as obligation under 14 that the contact should be avoided if reasonably possible. So if you keep in mind all the time, I'm give way boat, I need to give room. Am I giving room? Am I giving room? I'm starboard. If I alter course, am I giving room or not? So each time I need to have in my mind, am I giving room? So as soon as I'm aware that I am giving room and that the other guy is not taking it, then I would be probably easier reminded that needs to do something reasonably possible to avoid the contact. I don't know whether you would agree with me or not. Maybe it depends how individual brain works. But I think it is much easier if we do not actually just behold our rights and say all the rest of the world is not right, and then they need to behave. That's actually not entirely truth, because yes, we have our rights, but also as a right-of-way boat, we have our obligations that are limitations, right? So next step we will going to talk is about limitations. So 14 is one of the entry into that concept. So I don't know whether you will agree or not. You can comment and criticize and exchange so your views, and I'll be very grateful for it. But I think that would help if a boat that is right of way is aware that if each instant of its behavior needs to be limited, corrected by concept of room giving. Okay. Anyway, so one of those set of limitations we have built in the rules following in the same section B. So first one, 14 is kind of limitation, of course, because it says you should avoid the contact. So that's first limitation. So the second limitation is, yeah, you are right of way boat, but when you establish acquire as a right of way, your right of way, at that time you need to give room. So your boat establishes the right of way when, in this example, we're going upwind. So if that boat is establishing leeward overlap, she is establishing that on her own action, an environment where she needs to provide that room for this boat to do something, to go away from here. How far away? Until head to wind tacking, even if necessary, if this boat wishes so. But all the time of this alteration, room needs to be given. So this is 15. Maybe another example, we're going upwind, and then this boat springs a tack onto starboard to the port, and then it would be I would think the colors would then change, and that would be the red one. Obligation would shift here because of that tack. She became, after tacking, tacking means keeping clear boat. She needs to keep clear. While tacking, which is 45 degrees, and then roughly, and then she establishes the starboard, and she's starboard all the time anyway. And at that time, when she springs that tack in, she is obliged by Rule 15 to give room to this guy to keep clear. If the tack is too close. One of two examples. There are many more examples of those. But sometimes we would say that Rule 15 is switched off if, contrary to what it says here, when a boat acquires right of way, she shall initially give other room to keep clear, unless she acquires right of way because of the other boat section. An example for that would be, as I discussed before, is when we have an overlap for it. We are clear now, and then we have an overlap that is established by that boat by bearing away. So in that instant, she is becoming lured. She is right of way now. So there is no 15 on her. So even if she doesn't do anything, she would not be obliged to give room at that very instant. She would be obliged to give room later on, maybe when she alters course. But at that instant, she is not obliged to provide the room. If somebody else creates her, puts her into the right of way position, all right? No questions? Oops, where I am now. Rule 16 is the next one. We already talked about 16.
I have a question regarding Rule 15.
Go ahead.
Let's say we're in a race. Boats are sailing downwind, and the boat ahead has capsized near the turning point. Near the turning point, let's say Mach 3 or Mach 4, if it's inside, the loop is in, it is inside, it comes first. And the boat behind is going to turn. It avoids initially the boat that has capsized, but at the time the boat behind tries to avoid it, the boat that has capsized is turning around and blocks the way the boat behind, and there's a sort of a crash between them. Does the boat coming from behind, the boat with right of way, have some sort of right to address or let's say let me see it, some sort of right to where is it? To get right, let's say, because the boat that had capsized actually blocked its way, and he had to stop. He lost positions, and he was 10th, and now he's let's say 30. What's the penalty? Who's responsible at that time? Is the boat behind that had to avoid, or the boat that had capsized and had to wait so that it could get back on its route safely?
Yeah, it is all depends on the nature of the incident itself, because it could be either way. Mm-hmm. Because let's say 23 rule, if you can see it on the screen now, he says, if possible, a boat shall avoid a boat that is capsized or has not required control after capsizing. It's on the screen, isn't it? Do I share the rule book?
Yeah, if possible.
If possible, yeah. But there is recently a Q&A as well talking about the boat capsizing in front, and I think it was about lasers. And then I think it covers in a way somehow, because it says that if the boat ahead alters course and that capsizing without alteration, especially with lasers, is not possible, then the front boat is responsible, because it was not possible for this one to see that, to be, if it is impossible, because the rule 23 says if possible.
Mm-hmm.
So if she cannot because it is impossible, then that's fine for her.
Okay.
All right.
I'm saying so from personal experience, because it was very windy, let's say 24 knots. The race was in laser category, radial, so we're going quite fast. And the front boat, instead of waiting, okay, we should have avoided it. I should have avoided him. I did the best I could, but I was going quite fast. And at that time, he turned around, he had capsized, he wanted to get back and race, and I saw all of a sudden his mast coming in front of me.
Yes. So obviously in your case is involved because the boat ahead was also altering course. So this would be covered sort of under Rule 16 for the boat behind. So I think if it was possible for the boat behind to avoid capsized boat under 23, then she should avoid it. But if it is not, but mind you, you need to defend that in the jury room later, and then see if that was possible or not. I advise you to read also this new Q&A, whether you agree with it or not. You are laser sailor, so you can tell me, because the Q&A argues this way. It says that on the broad reach, the laser ahead capsized, and the other guy slammed into him. So they say in the Q&A that boat altered course, changed course, and that Rule 16 would apply, because the boat ahead altered course all of a sudden and exposed itself onto the boat behind. And the argument in the Q&As is that there is when lasers are capsizing on the reach, that they cannot do it without alteration of course. Is this what you think as well?
Well, I'm not sure. I have to search further.
Okay, that's one of the.
I haven't started Q&As to be honest, but
no. Well, I mean, Q&As are just a help. It is not carved in stone. It's an interpretation. Well, what we have as authoritative interpretation, these are cases. So I would advise them to read carefully. But the Q&As may be for a while, for a time being, posted, but then they would disappear at some point. There are many Q&As that actually disappeared over time. First, because the rule changed, or second, because they were not sort of accepted well enough. Maybe there were error in it. Or some of them are so good, actually, that they became cases. So there is a route out from that box of Q&A. So there's either you dump it because it's no use, old rules doesn't cover, or some of them are so good that we put them in as a case. So that could have been destiny of Q&As. But you know, it is not bad to read it, especially for your sailors, because it's a novelty in a way. Because these questions are coming from judges, and then they are answered in the best possible way given the rules. Sometimes rules are not terribly clear, neither, that the Q&A could be very effective. But this is life we live in. When some fault is detected in the rules, then they would be corrected in the next rule book, or maybe they would be even published as an extra supplement during the time of 4 years, which is case this time as well. We have 3 or 4 supplements to the rule book anyway. And one of those supplements would be our discussion tomorrow about procedures for the support persons. That's also a supplement. Anyway, thank you for your question. I hope I answered it.
Yes, the question
satisfaction.
was actually which rule applies in this case. Is it some sort of 14, 15, or 23? So
yeah, could be 14, 15, 14 definitely, because that would be a contact, right?
Yes.
Could be 15 or could be 16.
Mm-hmm.
And 23 as well, as you can see.
Or maybe all of them together. Thank you very much.
It can often happen, yeah. Especially when we go round the mark, all of them can be applied at some point in rounding. Thank you very much.
Me too.
All right, now we go to rule 16. Back again. What is the message I would love to go across with the rule 16? As every time the right-of-way boat alters course, there is a potential problem that she will give the game away to the other boat. Why I'm saying that? Because whenever right-of-way alters course, it creates a new situation. Mind you, if two boats are coming to each other this way, right? There will be, if they continue, there will be a collision. Correct. So someone has to do something, and the rule says, the rule 10 says this guy needs to keep clear. At what time? He needs to decide how long actually he can delay any action. Of course, if they are separated miles away, nobody cares. But they are still port starboard, right? So once they come to vicinity, then the rule kicks in, actually, and then this guy needs to do something. And this guy needs to provide room for doing that. If this guy continues the same course all the time, this guy has two options. Either he can go up, right? Or he can go down. Simple. But mind you, if this guy alters course now, if this one decides to go down, that would not be any more an option, because that would not be actually keeping clear. It would be exposing itself more to the course of the starboard tacker. So if this happens, this would mean that this guy maybe is telling this guy option down is not anymore open, but the other one is up. So what I'm trying to say is that each time this guy alters course, he needs to create for the other guy an avenue where to go. Otherwise, room is not given. And if that room is given in a manner that this guy is not forced into the crash tack or any unseaman-like maneuver to avoid, then room is given. But otherwise, you can go and stipulate, was it promptly, was it seaman-like, was it what were prevailing conditions? Because prevailing conditions would tell something about time and distance, right? Because in the more wind and the more rough sea would be different. Distances and timing would be different. And then, depending on the boat, because if with a small boat or fast boat will be completely different than to another boat which is several tons and have difficult momentum of turning. So decisions of avoiding could be much, much earlier. And the options given by starboard could have been sort of just in grounded, in a bigger scale, sort of different, just different. Yeah. Okay. So again, yes, yellow can do anything she wants and take any course because she's right of way. But every time she alters course, a new situation arises with the new parameters. So because if she alters course, they are approximate, they're coming closer. As she alters course, the distances are different and the avenues are changing. because if she goes down, avenue is up. If she goes up, avenue is this way. So each time she alters course, a new set of circumstances occur to this boat. So this boat needs to adjust each time. So at some point of this, when you go walking on the street, sometimes you find the person in front of you, so you want to go left, and that person also go on your side, and then you go left, and then you crash. So that's the same here. It's very simple. So message needs to be passed on, and responsibility, because when you see this guy on the street, I don't know who was responsible, but here we know who is responsible. That's right away boat, because she is responsible to create that room. So it is a greater responsibility. Well, greater, it's hard to say. It's maybe not correct word, but it is a hell of an obligation that starboard needs to put in her mind, that every single alteration would end up with the different circumstances for the port to keep clear. Similarly applies to leeward-windward situations, or ahead, or ducking, or whatever. Any questions to that? Do you have any problems with 16 in general? Anyone wants to speak? All right. So the second part, the second bit of 16.2 was introduced many years ago when we believed that once the boat that is here, port, decided to keep clear, and if this boat goes further down, and this one needs to keep further, then we would say that 16.2 applies to yellow. Many people would argue that 16.1 that covers it anyway already, but the rule is in place, and that's the explanation. So other categories like match racing has deleted that rule, because that in a way introduced the same rule in the call book, because in the call book, in the match racing situation, we have a limitation that this boat, the starboard, when they meet this way and she alters course, she is not allowed to go beyond 90 degrees. So in the call book, we have implicitly built up the principle that no further alteration of the course from the starboard tack is allowed. And that's somehow 16.2 says. Anybody of you had been ever disqualified for 16.2? Huh? Anyway, so mind you, the new rule book will be in place from 1st January. Even Olympics are not held this year. And we will be racing the Olympic Games under the new rules. And this rule 16.2 would be slightly changed. So I think you need to be briefed about it, especially because it created some trouble in team racing. That's why they changed it. Whether that was success or not, it's up to community to see later on whether it's fine or not. Anyway, I don't think it's a big game changer, but mind you, it will be changed. Okay, we now go to a last fourth sort of limitation, and that one is 17. So 17, I talked about it during the proper course discussion, but 17 was addressing, like, you cannot. Okay, let me check. Maybe I have a good picture that I do not move the mark. Yeah, go ahead. Question? No. All right, never mind. Let me find. Coming. Some more. All right, I hope that you can see this one. I can not to move the boat.
Not yet, not yet.
Yeah, coming now?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. All right, so there is a limitation here on the boat that is behind, to leeward, not behind. It was behind before in position 0, but we believe this, for this sake of argument here, this overlap is established by clear astern. Whether it was established by blue or yellow, it does not matter here for discussion, but it matters, and I maybe was not too clear before when I was discussing proper course. Now we will go here in detail. So the overlap here exists under 17 conditions, and 17 says that if a boat is clear astern and establishes an overlap within 2 of her hull lengths to leeward of the boat on the same tack. So same tack is important. Don't get confused if you have overlaps downwind with a different tacks that this rule would work. It will not, because of this same tack here. Okay. Okay, I will just finish 17 and then I will make a pause. I understand it's a break now. This boat has a limitation on sailing not above her proper course because of this nature of the overlap. So the blue boat action could be only if she is unhappy that yellow is actually due to jibe and go to the leeward mark, as it is said here on this arrow, direction of leeward mark. The blue will risk if she bears away onto yellow and push her saying, you should go to the direction of leeward mark. That would be Rule 11 breach, so windward boat. That's not an excuse if yellow is above her proper course and needs to go to the direction to the leeward mark, and she does not do it. The blue still have to keep clear. She cannot, I mean, she can, but that's a risk. She will be penalized for 11. You can do anything, but there is a consequence. So the blue, as a windward boat, has to keep clear, and the only thing that she can get and justice fulfilled, if it is in the jury room, by protesting. So she can protest and later on argue that yellow was more than above her proper course. All right. So I think now, Kostas, we have break or not?
Yes, Neven, let's go to the break, please.
We go lunch now, I think, is it?
Yes, it's lunchtime. We will return 15:40.
15:40, and okay, let's have a rest and come with a fresher brain. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Κυρίες και κύριοι, πριν περάσουμε στο lunch break, να σας ενημερώσουμε ότι μετά από παράκληση των προπονητών και άλλων στελεχών, οι μεταδόσεις θα γίνουν απογευματινές και πιο συγκεκριμένα την Πέμπτη και την Παρασκευή θα πραγματοποιηθούν 5 το απόγευμα έως 9 το βράδυ. Τώρα θα διακόψουμε για lunch break. Η μετάδοση θα επιστρέψει σε 2 ώρες, επομένως 15 και 40 θα είμαστε πάλι πίσω.